Hey, let's kick this off. The Cowboys' 42-37 win over the Giants showed us everything. The upside that makes you believe this team can be a real playoff contender, and the ugly parts that could make the season a roller coaster. I want to break that down with you, starting with the offense, because if you're a fan like me, that's where the good feelings began. Dak and the passing game looked electric when the protection held up, and George Pickens showed he can demand attention and open the field. For CeeDee, a lot of CeeDee's best plays in that game were possible, because Pickens drew safety help, the kind of respect you can't manufacture overnight. When Pickens ran that deep route and the safety followed him, it created clean windows for the crossing routes, and those high-efficiency completions that flipped the field. That kind of spacing and personnel advantage is a game-changer. But it wasn't just the passing game. The run game looked competent and varied. You saw power, counter, and some well-crafted motion that set up explosive plays. Javonte Williams did more than just pick up yards. He gave the offense balance, made defenders pay for small mistakes, and helped sustain long drives. When you have a back who can move the pile and also hit the edge, play calling opens up. The Cowboys mixed in motion and counters that pulled defenders out of position, and when the offensive line held their blocks, the backs and receivers made defenders miss in space. That balance is what will keep opposing coordinators up at night. Now, let's be honest. The offensive line is the real question mark. The unit flashed, but you could see stress when the tackles had to handle top-tier edge rushers. If Cooper and Tyler stay healthy and play at a high level, this offense can be unstoppable. If not, pressure will roll up and force rushed throws and quick checkdowns. That's the hinge point for the season, protection or bust. So here's a quick engagement for you. Do you think the Cowboys' offensive line will hold up for a full season? Vote in the comments, yes or no, and tell me one lineman you trust to keep Dak clean. I'll read the answers and shout out a few in the next breakdown. If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit like and subscribe. We're pushing for 16,000 subscribers, and every sub helps get this channel noticed. Drop a quick subscribe in the comments, and I'll give a few shout-outs in our next video. Now let's flip the coin, because while the offense gave us a reason to believe, the defense gave us plenty of reasons to worry. If you watched closely, you probably felt the same frustration I did. The Cowboys came into this game with Matt Eberflus, leaning on his zone-heavy scheme, but the execution was sloppy, and the Giants took advantage of it again and again. Too many times it looked like players didn't know their assignments. And in the NFL, one missed responsibility is all it takes to turn a routine play into a touchdown. Adding Jadeveon Clowney was supposed to be the spark for the pass rush. And let's be fair, he will help. The problem is that, against the Giants, when Dallas rushed just 4, Russell Wilson looked way too comfortable. He had time to sit back, scan the field, and wait for receivers to uncover in those soft spots. That's not what you want to see from a defense that was built on aggression and pressure just a couple of years ago. The Cowboys need someone who can consistently win off the edge opposite Micah, and Clowney could be that piece, but one man doesn't erase systemic problems. The biggest frustration came in coverage breakdowns. Let's talk about that busted coverage on the Wan'Dale Robinson touchdown. On the surface, it looked like Trevon Diggs got lost. But if you slow it down, that was Donovan Wilson's zone, and Diggs was essentially left hanging, with no safety help. Later, Kaiir Elam pressed at the line, but never gained depth, leaving a gaping hole behind him. That kind of miscommunication is coaching. Plain and simple. And what made it worse was the cushion they gave on short yardage plays. 3rd and short, 4th and short, and the corners were still sitting 7 yards back. That's free yardage, and the Giants feasted on it. You can't give away first downs like that and expect to survive against top offenses. So here's the big question for us. Is this a talent issue or a coaching issue? Do you think the players just aren't good enough to execute what Eberflus wants? Or is it the scheme setting them up to fail? Drop your vote in the comments. Coaching, talent, or both? I want to see where you stand on this debate, because right now it feels like a bit of both. When you think back on this game, a few moments stand out. The kind of plays that decide whether you're celebrating a win or lamenting a collapse. For the Cowboys, those moments told the story of both resilience and vulnerability. The biggest highlight has to be George Pickens' touchdown late in the game. That was the kind of play you bring a player like him in for. Not just the yardage, not just the routes that open up space, but the ability to come through when the game is on the line. Dak trusted him, threw it up, and Pickens delivered. That's the impact of having a true second option next to CeeDee Lamb. You need a guy who can win in those contested moments. And Pickens gave Dallas exactly that. If you strip that touchdown away, who knows if we're even talking about a win right now. But football is a game of swings, and we saw the other side of it too. The busted coverage on Wan'Dale Robinson's score flipped momentum instantly. That play wasn't just 6 points. It was a shot of belief for the Giants' sideline. Then add in the short yardage struggles, where Dallas sat back in soft zones and practically handed out first downs. Those were the plays that nearly lost it. And if you're like me, you probably felt that pit in your stomach every time the Giants lined up on 3rd and short. Even in the run game, the Cowboys had sequences where Javonte Williams created chunk gains, and then, on the very next drive, protection broke down and the offense stalled. The inconsistency is what makes these games stressful. You see a perfect counterplay, springing Williams free, followed by a protection bust that puts Dak in third and long. That's the back-and-forth nature of this team right now, and it's why every game feels like a coin flip. Momentum matters in football, and this game was proof. The Cowboys nearly lost control multiple times, but the offense had just enough firepower to swing it back. Still, relying on late-game heroics isn't a sustainable formula. That's how you lose close games over a season. The lesson here is simple. Clean up those busted coverages, tighten up on short yardage, and keep the offensive line steady. Do that, and you won't need miracles to win. So let me ask you, what do you think was the real turning point of this game? Was it Pickens' touchdown? Robinson's wide-open score? Or one of those clutch third down runs? Drop your choice in the comments, and let's settle the debate. I'll read through responses and highlight the best takes in the next breakdown. Now let's pull everything together and talk about the bigger picture. Are the Cowboys really built to make a playoff push, or are we headed for a wild ride of heartbreak? On offense, the formula is clear. Dak Prescott has 2 legitimate weapons in CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, and when the protection holds, this is one of the most dangerous passing attacks in the league. Add Javonte Williams' physical running style and the creativity of the run schemes, and you've got an offense that can score on anyone. That's what makes you believe this could be a playoff-caliber group. You don't drop 40 points in the NFL by accident. You do it because you have talent, a plan, and the ability to execute under pressure. But football is never just about one side of the ball. The defense is what keeps me from saying this team is already set for January. The breakdowns we saw in coverage weren't small mistakes. They were structural problems. If you can't get lined up correctly, if safeties and corners aren't on the same page, and if third on short feels automatic for your opponent, then it doesn't matter how many points you score. You can't survive shootouts every week in this league. At some point, the defense has to stand tall. Jadeveon Clowney should help, but one player isn't a role. It's going to take sharper coaching, better communication, and maybe even a shift in approach to make this defense playoff-worthy. So what's more likely? The Cowboys ironing out these flaws and making a serious push, or the team continuing to live on the edge, playing thrillers where one mistake can undo all the good work. If I'm being real with you, it feels like both outcomes are on the table. This team has the ceiling to beat anybody and the flaws to lose to anybody. That's why the season is shaping up to be unpredictable, maybe even chaotic. And if you've been a Cowboys fan long enough, you know that drama seems to follow this franchise everywhere it goes. Here's where I want to hear from you one more time. Do you think the Cowboys are truly on track for the playoffs? Or do you see this year as another roller coaster ride? Give me a simple thumbs up or thumbs down in the comments. Playoffs, yes or no? And while you're there, hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. We're aiming for 16,000 subscribers, and with your support, we'll keep building this community together. Also, if you want to see a deeper film study on any of the plays we talked about, pick a play in the comments and I'll break it down in the next video.